Good morning in Korea and good evening in Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, on fintech companies and online audience from Canada and Korea around the world, on behalf of the Fintech Center Korea and Embassy of Canada to Korea, I would like to warmly welcome and thank you all online audience from Canada and Korea and overseas to join today's seminar. I'm Sung-Gin Son in Fintech Center Korea. In light of the COVID-19 situation globally and this challenging time, Fintech Center and Embassy of Canada organized this special event so that we can share the latest fintech trends and enhance the fintech relationship between two countries. Please allow me to go over today's program. The seminar will be approximately 1.5 hours long from now. The program will begin by the opening remarks by the chairman of Fintech Center, congratulatory remarks by Embassy of Canada to Korea, and presentation by Canadian companies and Korean fintech companies. For the time management, we will have a Q&A session after all presentations are done. And I would like to keep the presentation within 10 minutes for the time's sake. Now, please welcome Chairman of the Fintech Center Korea for his opening remarks. Chairman Yu Shin-jung leads the Fintech Center Korea and also the professor of Sogang University. He has extensive experience in fintech industry and finance industry in Korea. Please welcome him for his opening remarks.
Good evening to Canada. Good morning to Korea. Hello everyone, I'm Yu Shin-jung, Chairman of Fintech Center Korea. Welcome everyone for joining this precious Canada-Korea Fintech Webinar, which is co-organized by Embassy of Canada and Fintech Center Korea. Today I would like to give my warmest regards to the participants of this webinar. First, I thank Mr. Hera Tudor, Minister Counselor from the Embassy of Canada for giving us congratulations remarks. And I thank to Jennifer Reynolds, CEO from Toronto Finance International for introducing us Toronto Advantage. There are presenters from the Canadian side. First, I thank to Adam Energy, a Senior Sales Associate from Overbond. Next, I thank to Philippine Lafreniere, Chief Growth Officer from Slice Labs. Lastly, I thank to Jonathan Ritchie, CFO from Ineco Systems. Also, there are representatives from the Korean side. I thank to Moon-soo Park, Deputy Head from Payco. Then I thank to David Choi, Vice President from Altera. They will introduce their business model for the fintech cooperation between two countries. Finally, I would like to thank all the participants who are enjoying this webinar as well. The outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in last year gave us unexpected uncertainty. Many things have suffered since the outbreak. However, as the financial market has been impacted, fintech, which is I think well known as digital and on-tech, sometimes on-tech, finance has been responding the situation very quickly and smartly. Most of fields of the global fintech reported very high growth in 2020. And as the convergence of finance and technology is very nimble and innovative, we expect its potential to rebuild a financial market and real economy and its ecosystem and a force industrial revolution as well. In order to respond to this change, international cooperation between countries is very necessary, especially Canada has great potential to be a hub for fintech. For example, CSA, Canadian Securities Administrators, operates regulatory sandbox program and simplifies registration process financial business for fintechs. According to the Fintech Global, the total investment amount of Canadian fintech we hear is about 1.5 billion US dollars. And many reports show Canada is very renowned for AI technology, which makes robot advice and data analytics in Canada spotlight from global investors. Because of this trend, I think today's webinar is very important because it links the two countries for constructing a global fintech ecosystem. As for Fintech Center Korea, we have operated various overseas expansion support programs. Since last year, we have held a fintech overseas expansion webinar series with 9 countries and World Bank as well, and more than 1,000 participants. Moreover, up to now, we had a total of 39 domestic and global fintech demo days. Up to now, 79 global fintech companies participating and presented their business model. Furthermore, we organized Korea Fintech Week 2020 last year and opened the event from the last Thursday of last May with the participation of 150 domestic and international fintech booths. We have successfully achieved over 170,000 online visitors and over 1.1 million page views in 2 weeks. This year, we will also hold Korea Fintech Online Week end of May, both online and also we will have offline Fintech Global Week, probably I think in November. There will be meaningful sessions for global fintech companies and relation organizations. So we hope Canadian companies, many people join and contact us for more information. Because of COVID-19, the financial industry faced digital transformation. IFIC, Investment Funds Institute of Canada, announced that the scale of robo-advisor and asset management market in Canada will expand much further, and digital finance in Canada will drive, give more digitalization of real economy. Likewise, Korea is the same. We passed the Data 3 Act at the National Assembly in last year, and data economy has begun. So it impacts more and more to financial market as well. And Korea Data Exchange opened May last year, and we expect My Data business start soon. So I think it's a very high time. International cooperation becomes more and more important. So today, Canada-Korea webinar is considered to be a very great significance. Once again, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Embassy of Canada and other fintech-related personnel from both Canada and Korea side for joining this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman, for delivering opening remarks and your great support to fintech industry between 2 countries. Now, please welcome Mr. Hera Tudor. He is the Minister of Counselor in Embassy of Canada to Korea. He is also the head of the Trade and Invest team in the Canadian Embassy to South Korea. The trade team at the Canadian Embassy in Korea helps Canadian companies export their products and services and technologies to this dynamic market. It also facilitates FDI from Korea to Canada, as well as innovation, education partnership, also in fintech area. Please welcome Minister Counselor for his congratulatory remarks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. 안녕하세요. You stole my thunder, Mr. Sun. Those were my opening lines. So it's really my pleasure to be here today. I want to congratulate the Fintech Center Korea for organizing this event, the first Canada-Korea Fintech Webinar. Thank you particularly to Chairman Sung for providing the virtual platform for this webinar. We know this is where the devil is in the details, really making this thing work. I want to thank everyone who's online today. Zoom fatigue is a real thing, so I really appreciate seeing so many of you around the table. I think both our countries have a lot to work together, not only in this field, but in others. Fintech is driven by some of the most innovative companies in the IT ecosystem. You guys disrupt existing financial services. You use technology to change the way you do business. You operate in a very complex environment, made only more complex now by COVID. And, you know, as every company, you try to reduce costs, comply with changing regulations, improve risk management, enhance security, generate new revenue streams, and, you know, ultimately offer new services to your clients. I think both our countries and the companies within our countries are well poised to navigate these complexities. We both have countries with a strong rule-based system that allows fintech companies to operate with a good level of certainty. The global financial services industry is experiencing tremendous transformation. And ultimately, technology is reshaping the way commerce is enabled and transforming the players who provide these financial services. These companies, you're at the intersection of wireless, IT, banks, and you're well poised to facilitate and navigate this transformation. Jennifer Reynolds will tell you about our ecosystem in Canada. I mean, we do have strong fintech clusters in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Calgary. For my part, my team at the Embassy of Canada is part of a network across the world of trade offices of the Canadian government. And we're ready, you Canadian companies, to help you come into Korea and find success, either by selling your products and services or by partnering with great Korean companies. And for the Korean companies, again, we need to build these partnerships. And if you're looking to Canada as a landing pad, either for North America as a whole or to enter the Canadian market, it's our pleasure to accompany you. Our services are free, so you're getting a lot of value, I guarantee, for this. So we're here to just help make these connections. So thank you again for the FinTech Center Korea. My team is actually online and is listening to this, and it will be available after the seminar to engage with you. Thank you to everyone. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Minister Counselor, for your congratulatory remarks to enhance Canada and Korea's fintech industry cooperation in the future. We indeed look forward to building strong partnership based on the trust and mutual cooperation in this milestone event. Now, please let us begin our first presentation. First presentation will be done by the Chairman Yu Shin-jung again for his overviewing the fintech activation policy and fintech ecosystem in Korea. Please welcome Chairman Yu Shin-jung for his presentation. Again, yes.
Yeah, Yu Shin again. Thank you. Korea fintech has started later than a global market. However, Korea has a strong point in IT and digital, and the Korean government has high willingness of promoting the fintech industry, and so we think rapidly catch up with global leaders of fintech. This shows the current status of Korean fintech industry briefly. And you see, the left side and left and right side. It's a big banking sector. Left side talking about the simple payment and remittance. It is growing very rapidly, even though simple payments are about 3 to 4% of total amount of credit card payment. But it's more than triple in the last 3 years. The right side of the screen, you see Korean neobank. 3 neobanks have been approved in Korea. Among them, K-Bank and KakaoBank and Toss Bank. Among them, KakaoBank shows distinct growth. It accumulated 4.35 million non-face-to-face accounts within just 100 days after start of service. So it turned to be a surplus less than 2 years. So many banks in banking sector were alarmed and paid big attention to KakaoBank's boost. We are telling it had a definitely so-called catfish effect. You see a P2P and robo-advisor. P2P loan, I think a P2P loan is business is very good model in long term, but right now, Korean government much concerned about it because real estate related loans significantly high 86% of total B2B lending related to real estate. And also you see COVID-19 impacted a lot because it is a kind of medium the interest rate, targeting medium interest rate, which means in terms of credit a little bit stable, so it impact a lot. But I think its model is pretty good. Right side of the screen, robo-advisor. Robo-advisor started in Korea about 5 years ago now. Until now, not so much strong. But I think because from last year, Korea entered into a data economy era, as I've told you, and so big data in capital market as open and gives high potential in Korean robotic market. Recently, COVID-19 has led to this digitization of the securities market as well. So it has led to a rapid increase in robo-advisor accounts in Korea. Crowdfunding is one of the funding methods of startups. Unlike angel investor or venture capitalist, many investors participate in crowdfunding, even though it is small money individually, but because of a lot of money, a lot of people invest, gather the money so big. So it has it is a good impact on the funding of a startup in the venture. And also it has I think 3 good effects, which are not only the advantage of funding, but also the effect of advertisement and the revenue increasing effect, which is very important to the startup. In 2017, it was just $5 million US, but it became more than 300 million in last year. So it increased, the 7 times in 4 years. Lastly, right side of the screen, insurance. It's an insurtech. Start a little late, but as in the global market, interest in Korea is growing rapidly, particularly this year. We expect much change in insurance market by use of insurtech. Then where Korean fintech innovation is located? You see the screen. I think there are 4 stages for fintech innovation. I think it's not only the fintech innovation, but the financial market innovation. The first stage, you see the step 1, left upside the screen, is unbundling. The consumer chooses customized services such as payment and remittance in their hand, in smartphone. And so it's the consumers, financial consumers, chooses respectively, because there's no, the searching, very small searching cost. So that's according to the foreign service, they choose differently. The second stage about digital platform, I think toll service in Korea is a kind of the convenient remittance is a good example. At first, remittance is very only provided. Remittance is only provided, but as there was a high satisfaction from customers, its services now includes not only payment but also securities, insurance, neobank, and recently they tried to jump in my data business as well. The third stage, step 3, is about using data by convergence with the infrastructure technology. As companies can use big data in Korea, ABCD, we call it ABCD, AI, blockchain, and cloud computing and data, big data technology will be very much utilized. Therefore, we call it tech pin in Korea. I think it is called in global market as fintech enabler. Companies will be more and more important. And then, if it is big, we call it big tech. As I told you, early last year, the Korean National Assembly passed the amendments to the 3 major data privacy laws. You can see the screen. Korea now in the 3rd step of fintech innovation. But you see, the financial data, particularly financial, the remittance data, settlement data, which means can analyze consumers' behavior in every business model, in every industry. So if we analyze very easily the financial settlement data, we can analyze all the consumers' behavior from every industry. So the non-financial industry can easily cooperate with the non-financial area, non-financial business model. So I think if we once jump into step 3, stage 3, we can easily go over into step 4. So Korea is at this moment in stage 3, and also as I told you, this year Korea will moving into my data business. We start my data business. My data business is I think kind of platform business. It's a kind of the stage 4 of business as well. So we Korea government, financial government permit non-financial companies like the Naver, Kakao, SK, KT, etc. Can jump in financial market as a big tech to do my data business. So if it starts, I think we have moved into step 4. And just before I explain 3 data privacy law, early last year, the Korean National Assembly passed the 3 acts. Among them, 2 acts, individual the information protect law, and the credit the information law is very much related to financial service. So we can say the ecosystem support opening of the era of the data economy is studied particularly by the financial sectors. And also we open our data exchange platform. It handles the confidential data such as financial, distribution, telecommunication, and so on. So we the link not only the financial data, each area with financial data, but another non-financial data as well. So my data is very meaningful because the first new business model, I think since Korea started data economy era. So it gathers all personal data so that individual can search their integrated data and can design a customized financial product. So I think as I told you, not only financial institution but non-financial companies jump in and compete with each other in a Korean financial market. It's a brief the current status of the fintech industry in Korea. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, for your insightful presentation on Korea's fintech development and status and future cooperation with Canada. Now, I'm very pleased to welcome Mrs. Jennifer Reynolds. She is the President and CEO in Toronto Finance International. TFI is a public-private partnership organization whose mission is to promote and develop Toronto's financial services sector and to establish its prominence as a leading global finance center. She has more than 20 years career experience in the financial industry, including senior roles in investment banking, venture capital, and global risk management. We are very pleased to welcome her. The floor is yours. Jennifer, you may begin your presentation.
Great, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm just going to get my presentation up here. Give me one moment. Great. So what I'd like to do today is just to provide a quick overview of the financial services / fintech ecosystem in Canada. I'm just going to try and give you a larger view of my screen here. One second. All right, I think that should be better for you. So first of all, as was mentioned, just to set the stage a little bit, my organization, Toronto Finance International, is a public-private partnership between the financial services sector and the 3 levels of government. So we work very closely with all of our stakeholders in a manner which is twofold. Number one, to promote the Canadian financial sector globally and the Toronto Financial Centre, and then domestically we focus on issues which go to the growth and competitiveness of the industry. And certainly innovation clearly is a critical initiative and topic that we're very focused on. This just provides a quick overview of some of the financial institutions and the CEOs that are represented and the political figures who are involved, but we really do represent the broader ecosystem, professional services providers, the academia, business services, the really broad ecosystem is a part of our organization and all of our initiatives. We are a global organization. We work very closely with organizations throughout the world on issues which go to growth and competitiveness globally of the financial services sector and to promote the Canadian financial services sector and the talent that we have here. So I'll just start briefly with a quick overview because some people aren't as familiar with the financial sector itself, and then I'll dive into the fintech ecosystem specifically. So Toronto is the second largest financial services or financial center in Canada. We're the fourth largest city, but a less well-known stat perhaps that we're also the second largest tech cluster in North America. So we have a very significant financial services sector, which sits right beside a very large tech sector. And the tech talent in Canada really is quite broad, as was mentioned earlier, and stretches across the country. If you think about our incumbents, we've got very large banks, pension funds, insurers, which I can talk a little bit about. But we certainly also have significant employment in the tech sector. It's in and around 8% of the employment is either financial services is 8% and tech is 8%. So it's an interesting combination to have in the city. I think we're usually quite well known for our sound banking system here in Canada. We have 5 of the largest banks here. RBC, our largest bank, is 23rd globally. And really about a third of those assets of that revenue though from those banks is from outside of Canada. So very global institutions as well. One stat I will mention here is that they do spend about $13 billion on technology per year. So very significant investment, as with every financial services company globally. We have 3 of the largest insurers in the world with significant assets here too. Very global businesses as well, with sort of 2/3 of their businesses or more outside of Canada for Manulife and Sun Life, and then a property and casualty insurance. Key players there as well are listed. In terms of our pension funds, I think actually our pension funds globally are quite well known. They certainly are very international investors. About 57% of their assets are outside of Canada today. It's up significantly in recent years. And they rank 3rd in terms of total assets. So very well known global investors. And then our stock exchange is, again, I think we're known quite often for mining, but we actually have a lot of technology listings here. First, actually globally in clean tech specifically, and a very big focus on attracting international listings here. So we have actually the second highest number of international listings. So now I'm going to hop right into the actual fintech ecosystem here, but I just wanted to set the stage with sort of some of the key factors we have in the financial services and technology sector first. So I would define our fintech ecosystem as quite broad in terms of areas of focus. You can see here, you can't really read this graph too well, but the point of that picture there is to show we have a very diverse group of fintechs across Canada, about 1,200 across the country today. If you look at our overall investment relative to some of the other players here, other countries here in fintech, clearly the US and China are the largest, and India and UK is significant as well, but Canada is in the top 10 there in terms of overall investment into fintech. Our growth rate is actually the highest globally off of a smaller base, of course. And that really has allowed us to foster a very large growth rate in tech jobs. Over the last 5 years, we've had the second largest growth in tech jobs in North America. And also it's created this AI cluster, which I'm going to talk a little bit about as well. Very strong partnerships between the incumbent financial services players and some of our incubators and accelerators in the ecosystem as well. They're really looking to support those and support the companies that are growing through that system too. So we have in Toronto alone, and this number across the country is very large, but in Toronto alone, we have 20 incubators and accelerators helping to support that growth in the fintech ecosystem. I'm going to talk just for a couple of seconds on AI, because that certainly is an area where we do think it's an area of strength for Canada. Canada's AI sector ranks 4th globally, actually, in terms of the global AI index. We have had significant investment there, about $3 billion in investment and 50,000 new jobs. And a significant number of AI patents as well are developed here. And that certainly is a function of a very strong research community in AI, which is developed here. We've got the second highest number of AI researchers in Canada, and some of the well-known names like Jeffrey Hinton are here in the country. And again, very well supported by the federal government as well, that focus. And that's why we've attracted some of the names on this page here in terms of global players who are coming to set up AI development hubs here in Canada. So that's certainly an area of strength. I won't go through all of these, but the other ones that I do focus on generally would be quantum, significant investment there and capability, blockchain, of course, and every financial service center has to have a very strong cybersecurity focus, which we certainly do in Canada as well. In terms of our talent pool, I really do think that does define us. I talked a bit about the research. We've got a very high number of STEM graduates, which come out of our schools here too. Certainly I've talked already about just that overall tech employment that's happening here and the growth there, which is really exploding. This just shows overall education rates relative to other OECD countries. We've got the highest education rate in terms of post-secondary education. We also, clearly Canada has a focus, part of our economic strategy is immigration, attracting great talent, great people to Canada. That's critical for us. And so we have an excellent process in terms of which we call our global skills strategy, which allows people to come to Canada and attain visas much more quickly. It's a 2-week application process for certain designated job areas, which is working very well and very quickly to attract that great talent and get them into the country in a more streamlined fashion. In terms of the overall cost, I think we have very competitive cost base in terms of labor and benefits and facilities and digital services, all the things that you would want if you were coming to invest here and put your business here in the country. This page here just gives you a quick look at how do we stack up in terms of other big financial centers globally in terms of cost per workstation. So clearly very competitive on that front. In terms of our policy environment, a lot of good movement happening in terms of reviewing banking legislation, financial institution legislation. Open banking is currently under review here. We're in the later stages of the consultation process there. In the process as well of modernizing our payment system. So a lot of really interesting things happening from a regulatory perspective, policy perspective to support the ecosystem too. I'll end on just a quick page on Toronto. I talked about the importance of immigration already. Toronto alone, 51% of our population here was born outside of Canada. And we're known as a very hospitable place. You can see we're first in terms of rankings of a favorable opinion of a migrant destination country here, and we're very proud of that. And also ranked very highly in terms of livability. So I think overall that gives you a very, very quick snapshot. I didn't want to delve too far into it. This presentation is available on our website if anyone wants to look into it. It's tfi.ca, and we are always available for questions if anything comes up through this session or afterwards. Happy to help in any way. So I will turn the floor back over at this point. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with everyone today.
Thank you, Choi, for Reynolds, for your insightful presentation. And Toronto is a really global hub for fintech and global financial markets. And we're very pleased to learn about Toronto and the importance of your organization in this important era. Okay, now let us move on to your next presentation. We have a presentation from Mr. Adam Enozzi. He's a Senior Sales Associate in Overbond. Overbond is an AI quantitative analytic provider for institutional fixed income capital markets. And let us move my floor to Adam for your presentation. You may begin your presentation, yes.
Awesome, thank you for that introduction, and thanks for that presentation, Jennifer, and introduction to Toronto, which is where Overbond is based. So, good morning to Korea and good evening to Toronto. My name is Adam Enozzi, Senior Sales Associate here at Overbond. And, Overbond, just to provide some kind of quick background, is we operate as a quant analytics provider for the institutional fixed income capital markets. And I myself work directly alongside our CEO and founder, Vuk Magdalenic, covering clients within Europe and the Asia Pacific region. So we're fairly used to these later night Zoom calls, as it's almost or just after 8 p.m. here in Toronto. But just to provide further background on Overbond, is we also specialize in providing data aggregation solutions and a comprehensive suite of AI algorithms for bond pricing, liquidity scoring, RFQ automation, and much more that we'll get into detail shortly. But I think the best place would be to start is to explain what the problem, or what the problem that we're trying to solve within the fixed income market is. And that really comes, or the fixed income markets suffer from fragmented data sets. And what I mean by this is that there's several different bond pricing providers, such as Bloomberg and Market Access. Refinitiv, and there's also several different bond-specific trading venues such as Market Access, TradeWeb, and MTS. And the problem with there being so many different pricing sources is that it's hard for a sell-side desk or a buy-side desk to aggregate data from multiple different streams into a single transaction master. So, for example, the problem is that Bloomberg is not going to share data or trade data that they have on their platform with Market Access and vice versa. So that creates, sort of a wall in terms of data sharing between those two venues, as they're in direct competition between each other. And the same can be said between TradeWeb and Market Access. So it's really not possible to get a complete picture without data aggregation, whether internally or externally through the use of Overbond. And since the fixed income markets are far less liquid and vaster than the equities market, there's also been a delay in adopting trading algos and implementing smart order routing and AI aggregation until now. So the fixed income market is about, I'd say, 10 or so years behind the equities market. That's a lot more developed, but it's really opened the door for providers or the AI market like ourselves in order to come in and provide a more efficient approach when it comes to pricing bonds. And the only real solution is to aggregate data in real time with a sub-second or sub-3 second refresh rate in order to obtain that complete picture within the bond market. And that is available through Overbond, and we're currently the fastest in the market in terms of live bond pricing. And on the back of that, just to provide a visual of how the AI data aggregation works, is Overbond will aggregate various data points from different venues that a client or a firm might be connected to, such as Refinitiv Datascope Select or pricing from Bloomberg CBBT, as well as sourcing data from trading venues as well, such as Market Access, MTS, and TradeWeb, like I mentioned before. And the data points from these various pricing composites and trading venues will be aggregated into a reference master that is then further enriched with S&P Capital IQ and rating agency data. And one of the more unique aspects about Overbond's AI models is that they're also trained on a firm's internal execution history in order to incorporate the trading desk style and bias, making each model unique and specific to that use case. So to kind of provide an example, let's say, the likes of a sell-side dealer trades a lot of telecommunications or utilities bonds because they want to be known as kind of the leader within that specific market segment. So they always look to increase volumes within telecommunications or utilities or whatever their focus is. And their desk's bias is to quote RFQs at a very tight margin in order to win the trades and increase the volumes. Our AI models will pick up on that and help maximize or provide as much profit and loss that a trader could obtain while also winning the same amount of volume or even increasing volume. So it makes our models more unique and customizable to meet a desk's different specifications. And the three different focus areas or personas that we focus on is within the debt capital markets or the DCM use case, the buy side use case, and the sell side use case as well. So for the debt capital markets or DCM use case, we assist both issuers and investment banks in monitoring the markets with respect to new issues and timing opportunities, as well as saving time on manual processes such as automatic reporting and market surveillance that could sometimes get a little tedious, and in certain client use cases, we've saved treasury departments or investment banking divisions about 100 hours a week. So the timing really does add up there. And secondly, on the buy-side use case, we primarily focus on providing buy-side asset managers. So, for example, likes of anyone that manages money for large institutional clients with pre-trade live bond pricing that also has a sub 3-second refresh. And this is important to allow buy-side execution desks to obtain the best executable price for whether it's their portfolios or for their clients' portfolios. And some additional buy-side use cases also include post-trade transactional cost analysis. So analyzing, how expensive was it to trade a certain block of bonds, as well as issuance propensity that helps predict which issuers are most likely to come to the market with a new bond issue within the next several weeks, as well as custom basket indexing and modeling. And the third use case, which has funny enough picked up the most traction over the last 12 months, is our sell-side use case that is focused on RFQ automation. And through the use of Overbond's AI data aggregation, sell-side traders are able to automate up to 50% of trades through no-touch execution. So that would be complete trading through an AI algo in order to free up the trader's time to focus on larger trade tickets, because there's a lot of smaller nuanced trades that a machine is more able to handle, and allows the traders to focus more on the trades that are going to bring in more profit for the desk. And the RFQ automation really isn't possible without extensive AI data aggregation on the client side. But also, if your firm is internally not able to refresh bond prices within 3 seconds, and the same goes for liquidity scores to determine the tradability of a specific bond, it's going to be very difficult to automate part of that trading workflow. So that's where Overbond really comes into play and provides a competitive advantage for our clients. And this is an example of one of our modeled bond pricing curve. I believe this was on a screenshot from AT&T, which issues a lot of European, USD, and Canadian bonds. So the red circles will show traders and outline bonds that are illiquid or haven't traded in the last several days, as well as a modeled curve and rich cheap analysis to the secondary market curve, as well as potential new issues for standard tenors. This is a simple diagram of our live pricing that refreshes every 3 seconds. So if I was on my Overbond platform right now, the pricing on the right-hand side would be flashing or ticking every 3 seconds. And this is an easy way for traders to see what the confidence score, liquidity score, and what our modeled pricing is for a bond. And this could also be pushed directly into their trading platform for ease of execution as well. And lastly, this is an example of our partnership with BlackRock, where we model their LQD fixed income ETF with end-of-day accounting. So you can see the 3 different lines. Kobe is Overbond pricing, intrinsic is BlackRock end-of-day accounting, and market value is, I believe, is pulled from Bloomberg. So you could see that there's slight deviation from Bloomberg or from BlackRock snap pricing as well, that you could help capture additional profit from as well. In terms of Overbond's key business highlights, funny enough, COVID has actually been a very, successful year for us, one of the most successful ones, thankfully enough. And our sales pipeline has grown over 600% in the last 12 months. And on average, with the implementation of Overbond models, clients have on average saved about 10 times or tenfold return on investment. And some of our sample clients include ECB and their European Stability Mechanism, where we deployed a market surveillance bond pricing model, as well as the province of Ontario, where we deployed a similar model focusing on market surveillance for green bond issuance in euro-denominated bonds, as well as several more issuer-based clients, such as ATB and Ulticorp, that take advantage of our automatic reporting for their 200 issuer clients, and DekaBank in Germany, which is a sell-side or a regional sell-side shop that implemented our RFQ automation algorithm and was able to significantly increase the number of RFQs they responded to from 100 per day to 200 per day after the use of the Overbond model. And lastly, before I pass it off to the next panelist here, I'd like to leave the audience with a little bit of food for thought in regards to where the future of the bond market is headed. And I can tell you that approximately 40% of trading will be performed by some form of AI algorithms or machine learning by the year 2020. And COVID has really accelerated this trend as well. And I kept mentioning throughout this presentation about a 3-second refresh and why overbond's unique to that. And kind of the best analogy that I like to give as to why having the lowest possible latency is important is, let's say you're in your car, you're driving down on the highway at 60 miles an hour, and the problem is your speedometer doesn't speed up with you. It has latency for 2 to 3 minutes. So let's say you speed up to 80 miles an hour, your speedometer is still going to tell you that you're going 60 miles an hour, and it'll take 2 to 3 minutes for it to catch up. Obviously, the speedometers don't work this way because it's obviously dangerous, and there's more likelihood for tickets for speeding. And unfortunately, that's the way the bond market works, is that not all bonds will be priced with a 3-second refresh. As I mentioned before, the data is very fragmented. So by aggregating data through overbond, traders are able to get the lowest latency possible when it comes to pricing and liquidity scoring as well. And by talking to hundreds of buy-side and sell-side firms, as well as attending industry conferences, I can tell you firsthand that a lot of the major banks and institutions within the fixed income market are reducing the size of their trading desk, but also at the same time looking to increase trading volumes, which may seem slightly counterintuitive, but the only way that this is possible is through automating part of the trading workflow, which overbond looks to solve. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope I'm happy to answer any questions throughout the Q&A later today. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam, for your insightful presentation on bond market. And although we had a COVID-19 challenges, it gives you the opportunity to further accelerate your business. Okay, now let us move on to our next presentation by Mr. Moon-Soo Park in Paycock. Paycock is a fintech company, and it is a mobile POS software application fintech company. Let us welcome Mr. Moon-Soo Park for his presentation. You may begin your presentation.
Okay, first I'd like to express thanks for giving a great opportunity to introduce Paycock service, which is all-in-one easy mobile payment platform for sellers. Consumers in the market, use diverse methods of payment. Some are using cash still, some are using credit card, some are using mobile app cards using a QR code, and a lot of simple payments and account remittance as well. So various payment methods are used by consumers in the market. So there became a problem on merchant side because they should equip payment terminals from very expensive POS terminals and small CAT terminals to portable one to deliver foods and services to their customers. Yes, payments from customers adopting. Okay, so they are now investing a lot of budget to accept various payments from customers adapting to the rapid changes in the market. It's true. As the easy payments for consumers appear on the market, sellers should reinvest and equip new payment devices to receive new methods of payment from customers. Otherwise, the seller will miss the new customers. Customers today came to pay with just a smartphone anytime, anywhere. So we thought, why not possible with just a smartphone for sellers to receive any methods of payment? And that's why we developed the Paycock service for merchants. Paycock can satisfy the needs of sellers because Paycock service is a software-based payment terminal, which can be applied to new methods of payment by just updating the app on the smartphone. Yes, Paycock can help really sellers adapt to changes in the marketplace. So we developed for sellers software-based payment platform, with these various functions. With just your smartphone, without any additional payment devices, sellers can accept diverse methods of payment, such as a credit, debit card payment, NFC payment, and QR code payment. And sellers can issue cash receipt as well, and the point system can be added. For the first time as a software-based card terminal, this is launched in Korea in 2019. Let me show you the main functions of PECO service by videos. This is a credit card payment. It's possible to require a signature where once authentication above a certain price is like a PIN code. This is NFC payment, including phone-to-phone payment and cards with a postpaid transportation card chip, a pay-on card of Korea. This is a QR code payment, such as WeChat Pay and Alipay. Various QR code payments, such as mobile app cards, can be applied to. PECO can be applied to various industries, such as proxy driving service, delivery service, insurance industry, SMEs, restaurant and food trucks, etc. And it can be applied to traditional market, one-person business owner too, and it can help customers to order and pay by himself without any help of business owners. PECO service is a software-based payment platform. The description below here means to be provided as a cloud POS service. With that service, it can be applied to in various ways, and face-to-face transactions and non-face-to-face transactions too. Customers who install the franchise app or customers without installing any app of certain franchise on the smartphone, both cases can pay by himself. Let's watch the videos. A customer who installed on the franchise app shows menus and is paying using QR code of the store at the table. A customer without any app plays a camera and is paying by himself and downloads a receipt and checking an order number. At the same time, a seller is looking at the right and below side as checking on the tablet screen what menus ordered and paid. It's checking again, downloaded receipt here. PECO has been ready for everything related to the methods of payment in the market. A PECO service for consumers can easily pay by registering a bank account and some cards in the wallet, mobile wallet, and carrying it to a smartphone. And all methods of payment being used in the market can be received through PECO service for sellers. PECO has prepared for some extendable service, smart order. A customer who is using a map is able to search nearby stores or restaurants and make an order and pay in advance on the way to that store. Then the customer can just take out the coffee or pick up the goods or directly enjoy the service. This can prevent no-shows for sellers. In the case of smart order service, the seller needs a bigger screen to check orders and to prepare. Of course, the POS system might be the best one, but for SEMS business owner, cheaper tablets. Android tablet will be much better in small business areas. So PayCo developed a small but large service. As a card terminal, PayCo service obtained local certifications as that of hardware card terminal by passing a test through Financial Certification Authority regarding security, protecting personal information, etc. PayCo's technology is protected by 13 registered patents, and we have been preparing for international patents too. PayCo's team has won awards at many competitions and events. And PayCo is just startup, but is working with major companies of Korea and overseas companies. As you can see, even before launching the service, 17 companies in 15 countries showed a deep interest and established MOUs to introduce to their country. To launch the service in the overseas market, PayCo has been preparing EMB certification, which is International Payment Standards. We are working with a Visa company, so we expect to enter the global market soon. Korean President Moon is demonstrating PayCo service. This shows PayCo service is receiving a lot of attention in Korea. Thank you again. I'd like to thank you again for a great privilege to explain here about PayCo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Park, for your very interesting and unique presentation on PayCo's journey into global markets and future endeavor. Now, please welcome Mr. Philip Lafreniere from Slice Lab. It is a very interesting company in fintech. Let us welcome him for his presentation. You may share your screen.
Let me know when you see my screen.
Yes, it looks all good.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning in Korea, good evening in Canada. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm Philip Lafreniere, Chief Growth Officer of Slice Labs. I'm very excited to be in partnership with the Korea Fintech Center and presenting Slice as an insurance insurtech startup to Korea. And Korea is the 7th largest insurance market in the world, but a market that is contracting a little bit in premium. And we hope that with partnerships such as with Slice that we can help make that market grow with more exciting opportunities. So we're the global pioneer of on-demand insurance. And that's really about partnering with both insurers and technology firms or platforms to really build a new insurance experience by embedding insurance, making it on demand available in this various digital ecosystems that we live in today. And, you know, examples like we just saw around the payment platform are great examples of, you know, how we partner with tech firms to achieve this. Just a few stats about us as a company. We're 5 years old, about 50 employees, the majority in Ottawa and Toronto, but some in the US as well. And we've deployed products in Canada and the US, the UK, and Thailand. We've raised about $36 million through seed and Series A and have won several industry awards. So that's who we are as a company. The reason why we exist is really a bold prediction from McKinsey that about 30% of global insurance premiums, you know, will be coming from ecosystems by about 2025. Definitely COVID-19 has accelerated the digitization of insurance, and we are really here to make it happen, to make that happen. The McKinsey predictions talked about 17 or 18 different digital ecosystems. When it comes to insurance, you know, we're focused on the largest, which is mobility, health, travel, housing, as well as small business. The way that we make this happen is really by partnering across these ecosystems. We really partner between insurers and platforms. So what you can see on this diagram is an example of our go-to-market strategy, where in a given ecosystem, such as mobility, health, or travel, we really enable insurance companies to partner with platforms and deliver these products. Today, insurance is a very manual and labor-intensive process. In order to make this happen, insurance has to be fully digitized. It has to leverage AI, machine learning, behavioral science, because when you're working in a digital ecosystem, you can't leave that experience, you know, to have a paper-based traditional insurance transaction. So we help make this happen. So how do we do this? Is we look at the old way of doing business, and insurance, as I said, is very manual. And then we look at, the old complex way, and we streamline this today. So for example, on property insurance in 3 continents today, just with an address, we can let you buy property insurance and then buy more because it is on demand. It really aligns with your needs. And we do that by leveraging data, AI, and behavioral science across the entire value chain. So I'll share with you a few of our innovations as examples. So we've worked with global companies, global insurance companies around the world, companies like AXA, companies like Sompo, companies like the Cooperators in Canada, to really deliver brand new experiences across all of these these types of products. A good example is with Sompo, which is also an investor in Slice. We partnered with Line, and with Line in Thailand, we're able to essentially sell travel insurance with 2 text messages. And the results, initial results, were that the closing rate of that online was twice as they normally see on their traditional channel, their traditional website. We're also using on our platform behavioral-based driving insurance or motor insurance, leveraging data that come from one of our partnerships with a company called Denso based in Japan. I'll give you another example as well. So the variety of products that we have, they really extend across the value chain of insurance, from mobility products to small business, event, homeowners, renters. We're also doing health insurance right now. We're doing a host of new products with some of our partners globally. A great example of someone that's accomplished the vision of Slice is a Canadian company called the Cooperators, and they launched a brand new digital brand called Duo. And the digital brand is there to really address these new needs, how people interact, how people use digital platforms, and to make sure that insurance, could be available to these people that are transacting on platforms. So whether they are people that are basically getting jobs on a job platform or sharing their homes, doing short-term rentals like on platforms like Airbnb, we can accommodate on-demand insurance for them. So we launched initially that company in about 8 weeks, which is very fast for insurance. But the key metric is that now, a year and a half later, they have 5 products in market in 2 languages. It's entirely digital, and as a result, the entire operation runs on a team of about 6 people because we have digitized the entire operation for them. And it's very important to look at some of the techniques that you can use to digitize insurance. So this is an example of us using artificial intelligence and behavioral science to do a process in claims, which in the claims process is typically very complex in insurance. It's very lengthy, but actually we announced today that this went live with Duo, which is auto settlement. So we can take a video submission of an incident that happened, and by using behavioral science and artificial intelligence and some guardrails that our customer controls, we can offer, when someone is done with their video submission of a claim, we can offer a payment right away. And then this would be great if we were partnered with the last presenter. We could probably, deposit in Korea the money directly in the bank account. But that's an example of some, serious insurtech innovation for the insurance industry that is powered by Slice. So there are 3 things that we bring to the market, that we go to market with, that is important to understand. So we have our platform. So Insurance Cloud Services is the platform that enables this to happen for insurers. We have our approach. So insurers have been, around for a couple of 100 years doing things the same way. We have a new innovative approach that uses design thinking to really reimagine what these products need to look like, products where we transact on digital channels, where we transact in ecosystems and platforms. And we use our design thinking methodology to launch new products with the concept of an MVP in market quickly, learning from the market, and then growing. And then, of course, what's very important as well is the digital operating model. So it's very important that if you launch a digital product, that you need to have a digital operating model. So our partners really benefit from very, very strong ROIs because, as you saw from the presentation or from the video just before, there are no people in the process. So by having no people in the process, the cost is lower, the experience is much better as well. So just a couple of things about what our partners are saying. You know, our partners are really excited about working with Slice for a couple of things. You know, the ability to create, you know, brand new products, products that didn't exist before, really thinking outside of the box, delivering a much better streamlined and digital purchasing experience that's online, that really aligns with how the platforms are used. And really also about, you know, innovative technologies that really align with the lifestyle of people. And I love the payment presentation that we saw. In Korea, there's some great examples of that. Chairman Yu Xing-jung, you mentioned before, one of your examples was, you know, SK Telecom with Hanwha and Hyundai. And that's exactly what we enable. So we enable companies across different ecosystems to partner together and deliver an amazing insurance experience. So we partner with the distribution channel as well as the insurers that will make this happen. So I wanted to say that's how I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for your attention today. Thank you very much for having us. If there are insurers or digital platforms that look to offer insurance or embed insurance into their products, we would love to talk with you and would love to answer your questions during the Q&A. My email address is here on this slide, philip@slice.is. If you have any additional questions after this, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip. You are very fantastic about your insurtech technologies in Canada and Korea. I really look forward to having your journey smooth in Canada and Korea to find a good partner, and your presentation is wonderful. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Let us move on to the next presenter. He is David Choi from Altera. Altera has a very unique, innovative AI technologies in face recognition. Please welcome David Choi for his presentation. Hello, David, can you hear me?
Sorry.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The floor is yours. Okay.
Sorry about that. Good morning and good evening, everyone. My name is David Choi. I'm the VP of Global Business Development here at Chera. We are an AI company that specializes in vision. And I'd like to discuss about the facial recognition technology and AI in fintech. To give you some, history about who we are, basically our mission and vision is to empower all cameras to be smart cameras. And, we also have a ethical, AI with this, where, Chera always puts ethics first. And we're proud to say that our technology is developed without infringing upon personal information. In terms of what we stand for, we just actually changed our, branding and everything is to have CTS, which is Cooperation, Transparency, and Simplicity. And basically, we were founded back in 2016 with a investment from Naver, which is like a Google #1 search here in Korea. We went through Series A through C, and then we just went IPO on Kosdaq last year. And then right now, we're currently valued at around $400 million. What we specialize is that we have a full stack AI machine learning team here in-house. So we have about 50 engineers, with the backgrounds from Samsung and SKT. And then we also have offices in Vietnam and also in San Jose, along with the 100 data annotation specialists. And right now, we currently work with all the major players here in Korea, including the government. And basically for our products, we have, ready-to-use Face SDK and authentication API. And we also have customer solutions such as fire detection, data services, contact tracing, and AR. And at least for the fire detection, we're doing a lot of work with the state of California right now to utilize AI to look for fires. In terms of our method, basically in the AI process, you have the data collection and labeling. And then you have a deep learning and training, and you have the AI compression optimization, and you have the solution application. And basically, we're different than any other AI companies here in Korea is because we do steps 1 through 4 all in-house. Other typical AI companies, they actually do from step 2 and they outsource the data collection. And we feel that the data collection and labeling is very important is because deep learning and AI compression is all dependent on the quality of the data that we have. So this is why we have the continuous learning models, to improve the solutions that we have. So the benefit that we get is that we are able to create a solution or AI engine that is most efficient and optimized, that could bring speed, cost effectiveness, quick feedback, and frequent model updates. In terms of the facial recognition AI in fintech, first of all, what is computer vision is the computer vision is a teaching machines, algorithms, applications to recognize and interpret what is displayed on a screen or an image with new human assistance. And what this means is that whatever that we see with our own eyes, we are able to teach the system. So it could be, in different fields. But right now, what I like to focus on is facial recognition. And through AI, we believe that, through AI, you're able to, reduce costs and increase profits, increase customer performance, and also increase revenue performance for our customers. In terms of the global AI fintech market, we believe that there's a huge growth. The CAGR is around 23% from, increasing from 8 billion to 27 billion. And we see all these activities in the startups, brick and mortars, and financial institutions. And why facial recognition is important is this. Right now in the biometric world, in the fintech, you have fingerprint, passcode, iris, and, places like Japan, palm vein seems to be the leading player there. But we feel that facial recognition is an easy way to implement to give a two-way factor, authentication to the financial institutions because it's fast, it's very easy. It doesn't depend on any hardware agnostic. All you need is a certain resolution of a camera. It's very secure, economic, and is contactless. And then the process goes is that you have a face detection, and you capture it, and then you match it with the to see if the two faces belonging to the same person is correct or not. So in the fintech applications, we see this in maybe 3 different fields. So you could see this in the fraud detection and compliance. So there's no need for a credit card or debit cards, and I'll show you some examples of that we done here in Korea. This is also a big thing for the KYC, know your customer. And this could be anywhere from payment or opening new bank accounts. And then this also could be another way where we do in the insurance field, such as property evaluation, insurance claim verifications as well. So this right here is an example of FacePay. We are the third face recognition-based payment system after Amazon and Alibaba. What you see here right here in the video is a CU, which is like a 7-Eleven of here in Korea. Basically, you have the a purchaser go through a contactless payment system where they scan in the product and then use your face and also a PIN number that you put in for a facial recognition. So we currently right now doing this as a trial run with the Shinhan card, with the Shinhan Bank. And we currently have about 25 locations here at a university, and we plan to explode this into rest of the CU, which is like the CVS here in Korea. Another area where we have this is that we have the ID authentication with the banks, where instead of utilizing an ID to open bank accounts and everything, right now we have a program that we do with our government where we have access to the passport photos. And basically, we serve as the AI engine so that if a consumer wants to make a bank account, they utilize their standard, government-issued authentication and utilize our facial recognition so that they're able to minimize the fraud that happens with the opening bank accounts. So right now, we started this last year, and right now, by end of this year, we expect all 60 Korean financial institutions to utilize our facial recognition engine for authenticity. So in conclusion, the facial recognition technology provides the safe and security that no other verification or authentication technology on the market today can provide. And, in the fintech industry, we believe that the safety and security is a top, priority. And we feel that the facial recognition is a great way to provide a convenience and also a contactless solution to the consumers and to the financial institutions to protect their assets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, for your very innovative presentation on Charles' face AI recognition technologies. Now, Jonathan, you have been waiting for a long time. We have saved the last time for you. Let's please welcome Jonathan Rickey from Inecto System. Inecto System is a very innovative technology for payment fraud detection. Let's hear from Jonathan. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning and good evening to everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to tell you a bit about Inecto. I'm Jonathan Ricci. I'm the COO of Inecto, and we are a global fintech company headquartered in Vancouver, Canada. And our core technology, Inecto Insight, is a real-time payment fraud prevention and transaction monitoring platform that was built specifically for the payment ecosystems. It has been deployed in a number of leading banks, payment service providers, national payment switches, and retailers, and we are deployed in over 35 countries. When people ask me what Inecto does, I like to say that we are the Rosetta Stone or a universal translator for the payment world. Payment data is transmitted over the internet in a variety of different payment protocols, effectively payment languages. And as a payment transaction is handed off between various switches back to the core banking system for approval, not all of that information is actually transmitted to the core banking system, even though it does have significant relevance. Inecto has the unique ability to decode every payment protocol down to the field level and stitch this payment transaction into a single transaction of record. This allows us to provide a real-time audit of every link along the end-to-end payment transaction journey, allowing us for immediate identification of fraud, fewer false positives, reduced fraud losses, and ultimately providing a better customer experience to the end customer. In regards to payment fraud, I think we can probably all agree that payment fraud is not going away based on some of the presentations we've heard earlier, but banks, payment service providers, and card issuers and retailers have just grown to accept payment fraud as a cost of doing business. And with the move towards greater digitization of payments due to COVID-19, as well as the growth of e-commerce, payment fraud is really only increasing in complexity and as well as in volume, while existing fraud solutions have not kept pace. So banks really need to reduce the lag time between a payment transaction being initiated to when the data is actually readily available in a usable format. Currently, as fraud losses are increasing, more transactions are being denied, which impacts obviously the customer experience as well as the bank's bottom line. The bank's reputation is truly on the line. So with Inecto Insight, for banks to really combat payment fraud, they need actionable data immediately. With Inecto Insight, banks move from spending significant resource time and effort traditionally taken to continuously harness payment data across a variety of databases, card rails, payment channels. They need to have this information at their fingertips immediately. With Inecto Insight, we screen in real time, and when I say real time, we're talking under 10 milliseconds, every single transaction from both a performance as well as a fraud perspective in real time. We significantly increase the speed and accuracy of payment monitoring, payment fraud detection, and payment analytics. We also provide real-time event monitoring, end-to-end capture, in which we get information from every single link along the payment journey and correlate this data. Our independent data capture provides far better auditability of our transactions because we're not relying upon any switch data. So that ensures there's no latency on the actual applications or on the payment switch, but also no additional security risks being entered into this. So we were able to provide a one-stop view of into all message fields, network communications, timing information for every single transaction to speed up the isolation of performance issues and highlight where there may be missing data links, which could indicate a man-in-the-middle attack. We are the only solution to be able to provide protection against man-in-the-middle malware attacks. So the question is, what makes us unique? We are unique in three ways. One is how we collect the data. We independently capture data directly off the wire. So we can capture data from any source, whether it's ATM, point of sale, QR code, buying something on Amazon, mobile, truly omni-channel. And we use this without doing any agents, code changes, or heavy instrumentation. So you can get a deep understanding or deep knowledge of your customer interactions without any latency on your switch. The next thing that really differentiates us is the fact that we're able to decode that payment language and correlate that information in real time. So we are the only software platform out there to provide complete message field decoding and multi-link correlation. So from one view, you can stop into all the message fields, and you can easily see anything that is missing. And also it reduces the blame storm of problems because you can easily see where a transaction failed and understand where that transaction failed 75% faster than existing solutions. The next thing that makes us unique is our real-time business logic. Because we are getting better quality data faster, we're actually able to use that for a variety of use cases, whether it's event monitoring, understanding how customers are actually using this, so really intense machine learning applications, as well as some fraud use cases. So new fraud patterns are flagged immediately for investigation because we know what a normal transaction looks like, and we know what a customer portfolio should look like. And so we can actually flag those quite quickly. In regards to our risk scoring, one thing to point out is we do machine learning on a per customer basis, and this is updated in real time. So my transaction profile would look different from your transaction profile. And as I'm using my credit card, my machine learning profile is being updated every single transaction, whereas most existing solutions either provide a countrywide machine learning or non-specific machine learning model for individual for customers, or it's not updated on a real-time basis. I just want to walk through just a high level as to what is the topographical map and what are we actually capturing. So on the left-hand side of your graph, you have all your various payment inputs, and then on the right-hand side, you have the authorization host. So the person, the banking system that would be approving the transaction. So here in this instance, you can see that an ATM goes to the gateway, to a switch, to an application server, back to the authorization host, and then back for approval. We are capturing data at these various points. And as you can see, as the transaction moves along to the authorization host and back, we are capturing and decoding all of this data in real time. Existing fraud solutions and monitoring solutions typically sit either out on the application server or on the authorization host. The problem with this is in the event that there is malware and it is automatically approving transactions fraudulently. So if it's sitting on the authentic switch here, and if your fraud solution is on your authorization host, you would never actually see that transaction because the malware would step in, fraudulently approve the transaction, and the authorization host would be blind to this transaction. So ultimately the customer, the bank would be losing money, you would be providing a poorer customer service. But with our solution, we know what a normal payment journey should look like. And in the event that it deviates from that, we will flag that for investigation. We can quarantine that. We can stop that transaction in flight. So there's a huge amount of savings in being able to monitor that end-to-end payment journey. So what does your fraud team, prevention teams get with iNetco Insight? Not only do we do payment acquisition and complete field message field decoding, but we also provide real-time suspicious activity monitoring, card present fraud, as well as card not present fraud, so truly omni-channel, as well as transaction reversal fraud. We can provide real-time transaction risk scoring, so flagging on the fly what is the risk of a specific transaction, and identify any payment outliers. And this is both from a machine learning perspective, structured and unstructured machine learning. So you don't need to be aware of all the latest frauds, because as they are changing, fraudsters are always on top of their game. They're going to be making changes to this, but we're going to identify what is abnormal to this and flag it for investigation. And so this real-time detection of fraud, as well as man-in-the-middle attacks, cash-out attacks, ultimately just provides increased security over your payment system, as well as your payment switch, providing more comfort to your customers. So iNetco, what we do is really provide higher precision and earlier identification of risks, mainly because we are continuously collecting data at multiple points across the transaction journey and can detect suspicious transactions before it even reaches the back end of fraud management systems. Just in terms of the summary of benefits, we are very unique in which, in the event there's a system failure, we can get you back up and running 75% faster than existing solutions. We can improve the transaction response rate, which ultimately means more transactions are processed, improving a bank or payment processor's bottom line, as well as improving customer experience. And the understanding of being able to prevent fraud, truly prevent fraud, as opposed to having fraud be a cost of business, is something that we see as a game changer. I will stop now. In the event that you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email, and I look forward to the rest of the presentations.
Thank you, Jonathan, for sharing your iNetco's fraud detection technology and preventing fraud in our daily life in the fintech and financial sector. It's very important in this fast-changing world. Now, we have seen the old presentations. Thank you, all presenters and speakers. Now, let us move on to our Q&A session. We have about 10 or 15 minutes. It will be moderated by Chairman Yushin Jung for his presentation and moderation. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Son, we have a time, 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Time is very fast and tight. Anyway, very thank you for very great the presentation from both sides, both countries. Thank you very much. We have four the presenters from the Canada side, and the three presenters, including me, from Korea side. First, from the Canadian side, do you have some question to the Korean presenters or Korean market as a whole? Time is tight, so quick question and quick answer, if it is possible. Hello? Yep. No?
Maybe I can ask one question. I wasn't sure from the attendance. This is Philip Lafreniere with Slice. Are there any insurers in the meeting today?
I think in Korean among Korean presenters, we do not have unfortunately we do not have this person who can ensure tech, but
okay, thank you.
please please give question to us, and then if we can answer, and if we cannot, later we can give an answer by email or David Choi.
Yes.
Anyway, your business model is regarding AI, right?
Yes.
So we have the Canadian presenters about those model. Not only I think what is it? The Slice Lab and I think the Toronto Finance International, Toronto Advantage, the Jennifer Reynolds give presentation about Toronto Advantage. It shows a kind of the AI competitiveness in Canada. So you can ask of something to Canada side, both side of two Canadian presenters.
Yes, yeah, thank you. I have actually a few questions, and actually, Philip, I really enjoy your presentation regarding Slice. The question is, because right now we're currently working with various, service providers on the B2C side, and I think identity recognition is very important right now, right? Because everything is on tech due to the Corona situation, and I was kind of curious, is there any legal issues if we were to partner together and implement a facial recognition on there to kind of ensure, right? Because what activities that we're seeing right now is that for the people in the insurance field, they want to put it maybe avatar using our augmented reality technology, right? To give the customer experience that, hey, instead of this just a phone that we're using, but by having a face with the facial recognition as they're talking, everything is a lot more interactive with the consumers. So I thought that might be a good idea, to enhance the user experience.
Yeah, and we have to thank you for the question and the comment. And yeah, because insurance is heavily regulated in all of the jurisdictions. So the example I showed you today, we're able to implement in Canada. We've done other things in other geographies with video, but there's a lot of regulation that we have to make sure we comply with when we implement these features.
Okay, so do you think that it's not as open right now? There will be still a lot of hurdles that we need to go through?
I think so, yes. Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
understood.
박 부사장님, 문수박, do you have some question to Canada side in terms of your business model?
I'm so sorry because I was doing something, so I missed the questions.
Do you have some question to a Canadian side in terms of your business model or your expectation if you go to Canadian market?
Yes, you mean you want to I say that some questions I made, right?
잘 안 들리나?
Yeah, sound is very small, so I cannot listen to you.
If you have some question to the Canadian presenters in terms of your business model, or I hear that your company very wanted to go global, including Canadian market. So if you wanted to go to a Canadian market with your business model, do you have some question to a Canadian presenters or Canadian market?
Okay, I'm so sorry because I speaking English, but my English speaking is very poor, so I could understand fully, but I just catch the 2 points. One is business model for PayCo, right? You got it?
Mr. Moose Park, you may ask any inquiry to Canadian partners if you do have any inquiries on Canadian market.
잘 안 들리는가 보죠? 네.
네, 잘 안 들립니다. 소리가 작아요.
그래요? There are some, the questions from, the audience side, particularly, to, I think it was Adam Energy Overbond. Do you see some questions from, the audience? If not, I can,
Yeah, I can see the question.
Bond market, the bond market, Korean bond market is very much, kind of an institutional investors market, and not retail market. So I remember, more than 10 years ago, Korean, financial government, tried to, to set up retail bond market as well, but I think it failed. So if we can use, the fintech, the service or fintech business model can set up those kind of retail bond market is pretty good for the Korean market as well. Do you have of course you do not know exactly about Korean bond market, but if you can give us some suggestion of implication to Korean market.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to address the question. It is a great question, and it's one, like, it's a problem that's not only faced in Korea but also in other fixed income markets in North America and Europe. So it's more so a global issue than specific to Korea, I would say. And kind of the primary reason for that is, in my opinion, due to access to fixed income markets, because traditionally, compared to equities, you need bonds trade in notionals of 10,000, 50,000, or 100,000, dollars, depending on the issue. So it's a lot harder for retail investors who don't have the capital to day trade or to invest in bonds like that, when compared to equities, when a share of a company or a single share is going for over $40, which most people can spare. So I think the primary issue is having that accessibility. And I know there's a provider in Singapore that we've had several discussions with, called Bond eValue, that provides access for retail investors into the bond market or the fixed income market, where you're able to trade bonds at $1,000 notionals compared to what you would need for 200,000 or whatever the case may be. So I think that's where the problem is going to be solved, and we've had conversations with them in the past about providing our analytics to them that they could pass on to retail investors. And I would say there's also, it's worth considering other alternatives as well, rather than directly investing into, a specific bond issuer, because there's a lot of different risks that go into investing in a single bond, let's say from AT&T or another global company. Is you have interest rate risk, you have price risk, and you have default risk, to name a few. So it's very difficult even for the most experienced traders to understand these variables and to price the bonds accurately. So those alternatives, like fixed income ETFs, that would allow retail investors to get exposure, like I mentioned, BlackRock iShares LQD ETF, which is the largest fixed income ETF in the world. So there's different ways to get exposure to fixed income, and I think the way for it to be solved in terms of bridging the gap would be
primarily access and lowering the notionals that retail investors can trade. Hope that answers the question. Thank you, Adam. Sorry, that I missed your presentation when you did. But I think the retail bond market is pretty, I think, charming. But I think usually, the individual investors, when they to invest in a security, the financial goods. Of course, there are some many people, individual people, to full of the stable in terms of risk, but usually I can I think they a little bit the high level of high expected return financial goods like the stock. So how do you think if you apply to those kind of thing to the bond market, how to let the individual investors to feel it's good, feel retail bond, the financial cost good in terms of risk and return. Probably, I think individual investors would love the return rather than risk, right?
I mean, for me personally, I like risk, so my portfolio is 100% equities. But it really depends on, I would say, an investors or retail investors, risk tolerance, whether they're more long-term oriented or, for looking for short-term gains. So that would be the first question to ask yourself before, considering investing in bonds or equities is, where is your risk tolerance? If you're, more, risk averse, then consider, fixed income or fixed income ETFs or the traditional 60-40 split in a balanced portfolio. But, I personally, I like the risk in my portfolio, so I go 100% on the equity side.
If I change, the question, I think, that probably, even though we say the bond, but the category of the bond is pretty, large in terms of the credit. Yes, in the middle.
You got high yield bonds.
Yeah.
You got investment grade.
Yes, and long term and short term, and the high level of credit and the comparatively medium level of credit, or just plain vanilla bond, or a little bit the complex bond. So you are, what part your business model is targeting it?
So I'm not sure if I mentioned in my presentation, but we primarily focus on kind of the institutional investor side. So large asset managers or insurance funds or pension funds that manage multi-billion-dollar portfolios. That's where our analytics first and foremost come into play, as well as on the sell side in terms of aggregating the vast amounts of data that are out there. We've spoken to several institutions, like I mentioned, Bonnival, that deal more directly with retail investors, but our business model focuses on the institutional side, at least for the time being. And I'm sure there's room in the future to potentially expand out into bridging that gap. But right now we're bridging the gap within the institutional market. That's our primary focus.
So if you can, you have some plan to go abroad, cooperate with the countries, the partners, for example, in Korea as well?
I mean, there's always potential. If Vuk, our CEO, was on the call, I'd be asking him what his vision is for the strategic direction. But right now we're just primarily focused on the European market and the Asian Pacific region on the institutional side, and several providers potentially on that focus more on the retail side in terms of feeding our analytics to them, as they're already more established in terms of servicing the retail investor base. So we would be kind of the entity that bridges the gap in terms of data aggregation and pricing, as well as some simplified analytics for those institutions that help the retail investors. That would be our I think our entryway into the market.
Just now some idea is upon me, because the robo-advice, I was told the robo-advice in Canada is very popular and prevalent, and then I think Korea the booming up, started to boom up as well. Many individual investors very much interested in the stock market, and so I think in terms of portfolio, so robo-advice kind of fintech business model in capital market, and combined with your business model, like the retail bond fintech business model, it kind of give us some portfolio to individual investors in terms of retail, right? Retail stock and retail bond, which I think give us some, if we can evaluate rightly the credit, and so it gives a little more the good, better expected return or return than institutional investors, those of institutional investors. So if we very much flexibly adjusting and the competing in terms of the piece level, I think it is good, give a good portfolio to individual investors who want, say, the more better, the return and less risk in terms of the risk and return perspective. I think if it is so, you give a, I think your business model can be very competitive in terms of that in a global market. Thank you. And there are some other the question from audience. Does Canada have also fintech support organization? Probably I think it's like the Fintech Center Korea. Do you have, because the Fintech Center Korea where I'm working in is a kind of in-between organization. What does it mean in between government and the market? So we delivers the government financial government's policy to into the financial market, and we gather the opinion or thought from the market, not only the fintech the enterprise, but financial institution as well. And then we give those kind of ideal opinion to financial government, and to let the financial policy reflect those kind of ideas. So, do you have in Canada as well? Do you have some sort of those kind of public or semi-public organization to help boost up the fintech or digital the financial industry in Canada? Probably you do not have those kind of organization. Do you have the fintech association in Canada? Who can give the answer? Jonathan Ritchie, do you have those kind of it's the not public or not the semi-public organization? It's the private organization. Do you have, right?
Yeah, we've got a few organizations in Canada, both regionally as well as nationally.
So after, because of here we have 성면 Kim Sang-myeon from the Canada Embassy, so we can contact with those kind of organization in Canada, and then we can more to communicate with each other, and then to let both fintech companies from both countries to help or to cooperate with each other. And then there are time is very tight, but some the question or the suggestion from the audience who wants this webinar's material. I think Korean presenters can give, but what about Canadian side? There are 4 presenters, Adam and Jonathan here, but I don't know. Philip and Jennifer, but can you give your materials to the audience? It's okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share my presentation. I think I might have changed a few slides so I could send you an updated version, okay. And then you could distribute that to the attendees.
Okay. Oh yes.
Yeah, and I shared mine. I shared mine with the team as well. So
thank you.
You have it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, Jonathan, say happy. Philippine Lafreniere from Slice Labs. Did you ask about the insure tech, right?
Yes.
What is it? I'm not sure, but
oh no, it's okay. It's okay. I was asking if there was insurance companies represented at this webinar today. So in the attendees, that was my question earlier. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, as I told you, the insurance industry, including InsurTech and the previous the insurance company were in this industry in Korea, I think will very much change this year.
Yes.
Financial government to preparing for that, and I think the insurance company and private side also are preparing for because the situation pretty the tight and difficult. They move to change, moving into digitalization.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
And thank you. I think there's no further question. So and then time is already past the set time. Again, thank you very much. The two presenters from both sides. Thank you very much. We'll contact with each other from now on. Thank you. Mr. Son.
Yes, thank you all presenters and speakers for staying up late and joining today's special seminar. We have indeed seen the global examples of how fintech can help and impact our lives and the possibilities of a future cooperation and partnership in the follow-up. We'll continue to keep in touch for further follow-up. And ladies and gentlemen, online audience from Canada and Korea, thank you for joining today's special seminar. We will farewell to today's seminar. Good night and good day for Korea and Canada. Let us now close our seminar now. Thank you. Bye-bye. We will keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jonathan.